And a good Tuesday evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with you from the beautiful Gulf of America tonight. We are grateful to have you. Some of you caught that, some of you didn't. I'm a little in the dark a little bit. We almost just came on audio, but out of respect for my guests, I didn't want us to just be two voices talking and, me have to explain which one of us is the more handsome or the more younger looking. But Jeemes Akers is on the phone with me tonight. How are you, buddy? It's just like a breath of fresh air down here on this Gulf of America. It smells better. It feels better. It just, I don't know, it's revigorating to the soul when you say Gulf of America instead of the Gulf of Mexico. And even the National Weather Service agrees with me. And I think our first official act when we launch our Weather Channel this year is that we're going to do a dedication to the Gulf of America and explain why that's important. It is good to have you, buddy. How are you tonight? We always have you once a week, and I've had a reason for bringing you on tonight. I just want to say this. I am in my nephew's old bedroom from Mobile, so, the posters on the back are not mine. They are my nephew's nephew, so my great nephew. So don't think the host is going to teen stuff or crazy. I get all sorts of emails about this, Akers. If you saw this background I got. Hey, it's good to see you tonight. How are you, buddy? It's been a interesting month, and I'm just eating popcorn, enjoying the moment. I just think it's hilarious, some of the stuff that's going on right now. And I hope we get more of it, but got some serious things to talk with you about tonight. But how are you tonight before I get going?
I'm doing fine. I'm sure it's colder here than where you are.
It is cool. It's not cold yet. It's definitely, Tennessee's going to get cold. We're going to have snow again tomorrow.
Oh yeah. They're giving snow here.
Yeah, it's another big snowstorm coming tomorrow. And I read tonight that we may have this into March. They're predicting that we're going to have a sort of a delay in the spring weather, and who knows? Weather forecasters are like podcasters; they run their mouth a lot without knowing what they're talking about. So, who knows? Who knows? When I've learned this about weather forecasting, when they tell you that you're not going to get any snow, you better go get 6 shovels. When they tell you you're going to have a blizzard and have 10 feet, you're probably not going to get but about 3 flakes. So, that's how it is, So, but. It's good to see you tonight, man, and I really appreciate you more than you'll ever know. I wanted to ask you tonight, the reason I brought you on, it's going to be an abbreviated show tonight, but I wanted to at least talk to you about this. Yesterday was a grim milestone, 500 days since the attacks of October the 7th of 2023, and me and you have had numerous discussions about that since. It was one of Israel's darkest days since the Holocaust, and there's rumblings out there tonight that Hamas has killed 5 of the. They're going to return 6 hostages Saturday that are alive, but they're going to return 5 bodies that are dead, including that of babies. And I'm trying to get a handle on the number of the babies, Jeemes, but the bottom line is that these babies were killed, and Hamas did not have the courage and the moral courage to basically tell the world the truth about them, which we already knew that was a very low likelihood that any of these hostages were even alive. And many of them were telling people that they've been, were malnutritioned and so forth. And I just, I don't know what to say. The world has sit by and let this happen without any real condemnation of Hamas. It's all been lip service. President Trump has put them under notice that we're going to get all these hostages back one way or the other. And I think the grim reality is about to set in of the conditions that these hostages were under. And sadly, some of them are not coming home alive. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are about that tonight and what the U.S. needs to do about that, because I'm reading a report tonight. One of the reports, even the Palestinian Authority is not happy with how Hamas has done this. And it's made life hard for the Palestinians because Israel is ready to annex Gaza to the United States, and that's not going to bid well for the Palestinians if that happens.
No, it's, I don't see how a situation could get more fouled up But if anybody in this country or any place in the world expected the hostages to be treated well while they were in captivity, you know, I would like to sell them a piece of the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah.
And there's also the case that Israel has released hundreds in good shape.
Yes.
Of the ones that they had in jail, and it's just an illustration of how much more life means to Israel that they're willing to release these thugs out of prison to get dead babies back. You know, it's just almost incomprehensible what's going on, and I think Hamas's dirty laundry has been displayed to everyone except these radicalized types that are on our own college campuses that still have this sort of fiction about Hamas as heroes reacting against a colonial power and such garbage as that. It is just almost sickening, and I have little sympathy for the Arab countries that continue to refuse to take Palestinians, even though I understand the logic of it, because there's trouble everywhere they go. And the experience, the track record, the historical track record is that they try to drum up rebellion no matter where they're at. They're never contented. And the Arab world just continues to let this be an Israel problem rather than dealing with an issue in their own neighborhood. And as we're speaking tonight, the longest lasting peace arrangement of Israel with a neighbor, and that is with Egypt. Yes. From the Camp David Accords in 1969 or so, is under duress as we speak, with Egypt violating every agreement by remilitarizing the Sinai. And so, you know, the more you dig into the Middle East, the bigger the hole becomes. And it's like there's never a smooth solution to anything.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the hostage exchange. The 3 hostages that Israel got back Saturday, was a week ago, that were emaciated and they looked like something out of a bad Holocaust movie. 330, I take that back, 369 Hamas terrorists were given up in exchange for 3 hostages. We've got a picture of the 6 Israeli hostages that are coming home this weekend. I'm not going to show the picture of the family that they're going to get the remains of their babies back. One, I think it's 2 of the 5 that Hamas has agreed to give their bodies back. And God knows, James, how many terrorists are going to be going back. I don't know who is telling Israel to do this, and I did read a story that I get, and I think you alluded to it. Israel cares about life. They're trying to get the official position is that they're trying to get as many hostages back as they can. They're biding their tongue, biding their time, biting their tongue, because they care about the lives of these people. They don't want to do nothing in rash and ultimately cause the death of whatever is remaining there. I had a long talk today with a dear friend of mine. We were in studio together, and we were talking about this over lunch. And I told him, I said, it's a catch-22. I said, if you go in there, we were talking about, and it's interesting you mentioned Egypt. 79 was Carter. It was Jimmy Carter. And my friend, he told me, he said, when I was young, he said, I thought Carter was a great president, but I didn't know any better. He said, I wasn't even into politics. And he said, as I've gotten older, I've realized how much he sucked. But we got talking about the hostage situation with the Iranians. And I said, we had we had 40 to 50 hostages that were held captive, for nearly 400 and some odd days. And I said, Carter was basically paralyzed to go and get them. And we started talking about this very same thing. It's hard if you're caring about the lives of the hostages, because good and well if you do that, it's likely they're going to perish. And I think that's what Israel is doing, James. But I think that I hate to say this, you're making a deal with the devil. And a lot of these people they're releasing are going to be right back out there in that field, fomenting terror against Israel, possibly the United States, our interest overseas in the Middle East. It's not a good exchange, and this is not going to bode well in the future. I'm like you. I get why they're doing it. It stinks. I just think that we have allowed a terrorist group to go on existing too long instead of exterminating them, we've negotiated with them. You do not negotiate with evil. You either extinguish it or that evil extinguishes you. And that's just the bottom line, buddy. That's bottom line.
I agree with you. Couldn't have said it better myself. I apologize. I said 69 and meant 79. Thank you for catching that. But I taught many years ago, Chris. I taught a class on a college campus, and I told the dean when I built this class, I said, you can take the year 1979. And there were a handful of events that happened in 1979, and you can teach an entire history of the Middle East based on 1979 and explaining what happened. And of course, one of them was the agreement between Israel and Egypt. Of course, nobody accepted fully this terrorism, the same basic terrorist mindset. Ended up assassinating Anwar Sadat for even being the first Arab leader really to recognize Israel. Made a trip to Jerusalem, and this thing, we have encountered it for years and years and years, and we keep expecting them to learn a lesson. They don't learn the lesson. Right now, here in the next couple of days, there's going to be a funeral service for Nasrallah, the former head of Hezbollah, and the one that took his place that got whacked as well. And they're celebrating it like it's a big victory. And Gaza has been completely decimated, and Hamas views it as a victory.
I know.
They have a complete different view of the value of human life, and it's when it's cut to the core, it's a spiritual difference, and we just never get that because we do not know how to discern spiritual things that manifest themselves in political, economic, and other realms.
Yeah, it's so well said. And I want to ask you about Egypt, because there has been a military buildup along the Israeli border down there near the Gaza, and it's over. Morsi has basically told Israel, he said, if America tries to annex this Gaza Strip, our deal with you is off. And like you said, that is one of the most longest standing peace treaties that the Middle East has seen, Jeemes. And the only other one that you can point to right now is the one that Israel signed with Jordan. Now, when Abdullah was over here last week, he tended to be more conciliatory toward President Trump, and he said that he would do what he could. He would take some of these Palestinians in if need be, but you could tell that he was not thrilled about it, because he had just a week before said, blank, no, we're not going to ever entertain that. And you made a good point, the reason being that these Palestinians came from Egypt and Jordan originally, and they created and fomented terrorism in those two nations. That's why they got kicked out and wound up in Israel's backyard as their problem. And I'm just curious, do you think Egypt's willing to carry this on through to make this hostility again with Israel? Because I just don't see where Egypt wins in that. I don't see how they win, but it's the Middle East, and I don't know if they care. But what's your thoughts on that?
Well, no, they will put themselves in a no-win position because if they do that, the fear in Cairo is that the United States will halt all military assistance, which is sort of the lifeblood of their militaries right now, but all of this is we are sort of reaping the rewards of really just disastrous policy. When President Obama was elected to office, the first trip he took was to the Middle East, specifically Egypt, where he promoted the Muslim Brotherhood and proceeded to apologize for all of America's sins in the Middle East. And so Egypt then is sort of, as all of these countries in the Middle East are, the Saudis, to a lesser degree, the Jordanians, now you see Lebanon do it. They're all playing America to see how much they just view us as a big cow and they're trying to figure out how much they can milk us for and what the red lines are. And with this new president, the usual way of doing business is changing, and they're trying to figure out exactly how to cope with that. But if and I know that you've seen the overhead too, the reconnaissance of the Egyptians building a military presence in the Sinai. They continue to violate the spirit of the agreement in terms of allowing weapons to go into Gaza, and there's no doubt Hamas would not have been the threat they were without arms and other things
from other nations
illegally going through Egypt across the border when their agreement with Israel is to stop all of that. And so it's a game that's being played over there. The Egyptian leader has to sort of play to the absolute Arab distaste for Israel, and so he has his own sort of balancing act. And the Middle East, the deeper you dig, just the more complicated it becomes.
Absolutely. I do want to ask you a question. This is look, I think you sort of nailed it a while ago. You said it was a spiritual difference between life and death over there, and it is. But I've got to ask you a question about our own nation and really the nations of the world, Jeemes. Do you think that if these babies are returned, and these images start trickling out of the bodies of these babies, do you think that the world will finally wake up? Do you think there's people over here in America that have not woken up to the threat that what these Hamas terrorists really represent? Because you've got these anti-Semites, these podcasters, and these other people that are out there still blaming Israel for October the 7th. still claiming Israel's killing children, still claiming Israel's an apartheid state, still claiming that the Palestinians are the victims here, not Israel, still claiming it was all Israel, the one that destroyed Gaza, not the Hamas terrorists. Do you think that this finally will shake people's conscience that, hey, no, Israel's not the one killing the babies, this horrendous terrorist group is? Do you think it will shake any sense into these spiritual voices that have no courage, or just being a coward and being silent, into finally speaking up and condemning this violence? I mean, at some point, what does your conscience have to see? What image do you have to see to shake you up to reality that you're living in an evil world, and if you don't have the moral clarity to look at this and say, hey, killing babies is evil, I guess we've just lost our soul. We've lost our conscience. And I guess in America we have, because we tend to believe abortion's okay in many states and so forth. I mean, what's your take on this? What will it take? I was thinking about this tonight hard over dinner. I was really thinking about it. And I said, well, maybe, the reality that they're returning 5, hostages dead, maybe that'll shake some people up. Maybe it'll shake world leaders up. But James, right now, what I'm reading out there on that internet, it ain't making a dent. It's not making a dent, man. What does that say about our soul, brother? What's it say about our soul?
No, I couldn't agree with you more. At most, what it's going to do is make the front page for a day. They'll try to ease their conscience by paying lip service to the terrible atrocity of it, and then it'll be just as quickly forgotten and relegated to the back pages, because that is the spiritual depravity that we live in today. I wish I could say it another way. I know there are a ton of people that are hoping the latest political results lead to some sort of nationwide spiritual revival and those types of things. But no, and you knew the answer when you asked the question. No, and it's not that we have lost our souls or our conscience. Our consciences, and I'm speaking as a general rule, there are exceptions, of course, but the American conscience has been seared. It's been calloused. There's nothing that can break through it. This is my view, and in an environment where spiritual differences mean everything and have for hundreds of years, we just don't get it. We don't get it.
Will we ever get it? Are we beyond? Are we at a point, James? Because at some point as a society, we're talking society here. We're talking empires. We're talking things of the past that, look, you do not see an empire surviving this kind of evil. And look, I know you and I are both faith people. We agree for the most part on what's coming biblically, prophetically. We know what the world's headed to, where it's headed to Armageddon, and we know the Lord's coming soon, and we know that this earth is being set up in stages, and this whole thing is getting ready to wrap up, and we are in the last of the last days, and there's just a lot of things that are ahead of planet Earth and Israel that are not good. But in the short term, and tonight in the modern situation, Jeemes, the empires of the past have fallen for a lot less than what we're doing. And as I said, I'm grateful for these 6 faces that I've got on the screen tonight. I'm grateful for their families, that they're going to get good news this weekend. If the Hamas people keep their word, they're going to be released. These are the ones that are alive, but 5 of these hostages are coming home dead. And I guess I keep asking the question, how many more are dead? And what's so sad about it? And someone basically said to me today, and they were right on, that Hamas did not have the courage to tell the world these hostages were dead while the fighting was going on, because if they would have, I think that would have changed the dynamics of the world opinion against Hamas. They waited till they are basically destroyed to come out with Trump in the office now, and they're scared of Trump because they don't want Trump coming over here. They don't want the American forces coming to the Middle East because they know what's going to happen then. But it's just a bunch of cowardly pigs. I mean, it's just I've got a lot of other names for them I don't want to use on my show tonight, but I'm disgusted. I really am disgusted, but I'm more disgusted at the lack of clarity in people's hearts about the evil that has basically been perpetrated against this nation of Israel since October the 7th. And we passed 500 days yesterday. It's hard to believe that it was that long ago, but it seems like it was yesterday.
Yeah, like what, the Ukraine, that war's been going on for 2,000 days or something.
Right.
Or maybe less than that, maybe 1,000. I don't know. But the problem is that even those that we worked hard to elect, they don't view things through a spiritual optic,
right,
at all.
That's true.
And we live in a fallen world where human beings do the best they can to come up with solutions to these things, that they are always spiritually out of their depth in terms of handling, and so, you know, we're always waiting for the next disaster. We're always expecting these people to act as rational actors, and they don't. There's a whole different set of decisional optics that guide these terrorist groups, and it is so foreign to us that it never makes sense. And you know, just when we think that using power, leverage to force them into a position of common sense, it just doesn't happen, because they don't respond to things that way. You know.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm totally with you. Listen, I want to ask you. I want to move the conversation to our domestic situation. We're entering President Trump's first week of the second month. He's been in office now roughly 30 days, and we're not even a third. We're right at a third of the first 100 days, and what a whirlwind he's had. And I didn't get all the interview. I watched some of the interview tonight, him and Musk did with Hannity, and gleaned a lot of stuff off of that. But I do want to ask you some breaking news tonight. He has fired all the Biden U.S. attorneys from the Biden era. He's not pulling any punches. Kash Patel has passed a big hurdle tonight. I misspoke last night. I said that his vote was today. It looks like it's going to be tomorrow or Thursday on the Senate floor, maybe as early as tomorrow. But there's a shakeup going on in the D.C. area tonight, Jeemes, with the elites, the media, the justice system. Trump has fired all these U.S. attorneys. That's where there's got to be a house cleaning. But what is your take on these judges that are standing in the way of what he's trying to do and keeping him from firing? Again, this is a legal question. You may not be able to answer this, but I think it's worth discussing. I don't see where he's doing anything outside the range and the scope of his authority as president and the executive branch. He has the right to hire and fire those in those agencies that he deems unfit for service. And I don't care what the reason is. He's got the right to fire you. But these judges are stepping in, and it's a shakedown from the legal system. But I think Trump's about to shake back, and the only people that's going to be falling out of them trees are these elites. And I just see a tidal wave of you-know-what coming if these people don't fall in line, and he's going to win ultimately in the courts. I just don't see the Supreme Court allowing these lower federal courts to do what they're doing, because what they're doing is the constitutional crisis, not Trump and Elon.
Yeah. Well, there are. I look at it similar to the way you do, but there is I read just a fascinating article. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
That by using by Elon Musk, who is not elected, using a whole team of experts, none of whom are elected, and therefore accountable to an electorate. Let me try to explain this way. This is just, Chris, I'll just give you the core of my philosophy on things. When it comes to a person's life, when it comes to a government or anything else, things can be viewed as a road between two ditches. Right. And the key is staying on that road and staying out of the ditch. And it doesn't matter which ditch you're in, whether it be a leftist neo-Marxist ditch that has taken over our colleges or whatever. That mindset is a ditch. On the other side is another ditch that we are starting to see emerge, and I have real serious questions about it. And that is a completely AI-generated technocrat type of solution to all of these issues, which circumvents a normal political process, and I am so concerned that we're going to, with all of the best intentions, that we're going to sort of slip into that ditch. The question of federal judges, I think Trump has the power. No president has ever been willing to exercise it, but he has the power to fire everybody
if he wants
in the federal appellate system under the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court's the only court system really that's guaranteed the constitutional sanctuary, if you want to put it that way. And so he has that power. Every executive has had that power to dismiss a ton of judges that would rule against them in situation X, Y, and Z. And they've been loath to exercise that power because of the political fallout that would come from it. And I think Trump is in the same decisional point right now. So can he do it? Yes.
Okay.
Is it wise to do it? If you're saying that we need to change absolutely everything and everything is broken, yes. But there comes a point where you cannot throw the baby out with the wash. You have to use discernment in what is worth keeping and what is worth cutting, and that's a tough decision node, and I don't envy Trump or his advisors because they're at that point right now with all of these things.
Well, I'm with you.
It's unconscionable what has happened, which makes this such a difficult decision. take the example of this $4.7 trillion. They don't even know where it went to.
That's right.
Because it was improperly coded.
I know. Well, you said something just now, and we're going to follow this out because it's sort of powerful to believe. And you hit it on the head. He does have the right, outside the Supreme Court, if he wanted to, every single one of these judges could be let go. And because I hate to tell folks, the Attorney General's office falls under the executive branch. It don't even fall under the judicial branch. And the Attorney General, her job, she answers to the president. And Jeemes, I hear what you're saying. It may not be politically expedient, but this is the difference in Trump 2025 and Trump 2016. Trump ain't got nothing to lose at this point. And I think that even the Gateway pundit called it the scorched earth tonight when he did what he did tonight. I think, and listening to him talk tonight at Hannity, there's a resolve about him that he knows that there is a possibility that he doesn't have 4 years, he's got 2. And I think that he is hitting the ground running, getting as much done as he can now before that house possibly flips. Because if that house flips in 2026, God help us, because we're going to go right back to impeachment and impediment, and God knows what these Democrats are going to try to do. So I think that he's got nothing to lose. It ain't like he's going to be running for re-election in 2028. And I think that with the wins behind him, he's got a unified cabinet. I want to ask you about that as I let you go tonight, because that's another thing that was brought up today with my dear buddy Randy Shelnut and his son Scoot, just precious friends. We had a great time together in studio, but we got talking about a lot of things. And I love what Randy said. He said, for the first time in his lifetime, he said, we're seeing what a unified cabinet looks like and how this power of unity is actually showing us that when all people are working for the same goal and not working against each other, what can get done. And we were talking about how the last cabinet that Trump had, people were sapping him in the back, saying one thing overseas, and there were so many mixed messages coming from the country that the world, we were basically being laughed at. They may have not like Trump, but a lot of the issues with Trump that first time was his cabinet. He couldn't trust nobody. Well, that ain't so this time, because he's got people behind him and around him that he's already vetted long before they went before that Senate floor. I'm telling you, he already had his people in mind that he was going to put in there. And there ain't going to be none of that this time. And I just think that he's got a mandate of the American people, Jeemes, to clean house. And, if this is what it takes, and he's got 2 years to do it, more power to him. And I say go for it and not worry about the political fallout, because at this point, you ain't got nothing to lose. And I think the American people have a lot to gain by getting this bureaucracy out of D.C. finally, once and for all, and it start over, and let's have a fresh start of we the people running government again, not the bureaucrats. Now, that's my soapbox. As you always famously say, get aside, let me get on that soapbox with you, and stand up there and share the soapbox. But I think that the cabinet that he's got, Jeemes, is the best we've ever had in the history of government in this country. And that's saying a lot.
No, I agree with you. Unity in the administration is extremely important. Trump learned his lesson from the first time around. Where I would sort of part a little bit with you, Chris, is that he has nothing to lose. I think he has everything to lose. And here's what I'm talking about. Is it going to be a one-off operation? Is this grand experiment of cleaning out the swamp going to end with Trump in either 2 years or 3 years plus? I would like to see him behave in the office in such a way that this change that we're seeing is permanent, that there is lasting change, so that if a new administration comes in, that things have changed to the point that they can't, by executive fiat, overturn everything that Trump did. Do you see what I'm saying?
I'm with you there, and that's a very important point in the sense, because I do believe, Jeemes, and I've said this often on the show over the last several weeks, Congress has got to play a role in this transformation, and that a lot of these executive orders are going to do us no good. If you get a Democrat leader in again, they will just overturn what he's doing. He's got to codify this in the law. That's going to take Congress, and that is going to take him working, unfortunately, with the other side of the aisle, if that's going to happen. And that may be a pipe dream, but yeah. I'm with you. I see your point, and trust me, I get everything you're saying. I just think that right now, while he's got the wins behind him, get as much done as he can. But I do agree with you too that he's got to do it with the future in mind, because I don't want us to be back. And one other thing that Randy said to me today, it was so powerful. We were eating lunch, and he looked at me and he said, "Have you ever asked the question, how did we get so close to Kamala Harris, that this country came that close, that we shouldn't have even, that she should have been never even discussed for being a possible president, but that's how close we got to her being our president." That's scary, man. When you start thinking about how on the brink this country got to having Kamala Harris as the president, it's not a good thing, man. It's not a good thought. I'll let you wrap us up on that.
No, I agree. And to me, you can say what you want. The best thing about Donald Trump is that he is not Kamala Harris.
Thank you.
She would have been an absolute, in my view, an absolute disaster for this country and everything that we stand for and believe as Christians. I'm just convinced of that, and that to me is clearly what makes the difference with the Trump administration.
Can I ask you a question?
What I would like to see is change institutionalized, because people realize that common sense is important, instead of all of these just wacko ideas that have been shoved down our throats for years and years and years. And so, Donald Trump to me represents a hope to do that. But if it has to be institutionalized. Change has to be because the American people want change. And not a small group of unelected elites. That's what I was talking about. The left ditch is as bad as the right ditch. The danger in my mind with Kamala Harris was that she did not have the wherewithal to control the leftist elites that would have run everything, and in my opinion, ruined everything. But you can't get into the other ditch, which is essentially you do everything, and the institutions of democracy collapse as a result. That that is not the change that I think Donald Trump should be shooting for. That's just my opinion.
And I honor that. And I do want to ask you a quick question and make this a minute or two. Why do you think so many Christians, though, are trying to tear him down? If are they just daft to the fact of the threat that Kamala Harris would have been to the Christian faith, and instead of thanking the Lord for the fact that she's not president, you've got people out there that are nitpicking and swallowing gnats to swallow camels, straining at gnats to swallow camels to find fault with Trump on anything they can find, and they are not thankful for anything. They are. It's just like murmuring. It reminds me so much of Israel in that wilderness, Jeemes, when God was blessing Israel, giving them everything that they wanted, manna from heaven, water from the rock, pillar of fire by night, pillar of fire by day to protect them. God was with them, and all they could do was murmur and complain and find something to murmur and complain about. It grieves the heart of God to watch his people act like this. When we were basically granted mercy from total, complete, and utter oblivion and annihilation in November, you would think people would look a gift horse in the mouth and keep their mouth to just, instead of trying to find fault. And we're going to always find something, and I'm not talking about disagreements. I'm not talking about disagreement with policy and things of that nature. I understand that Trump's going to do things that not all of us are going to agree with. This is not what I'm talking about. There is a deep-rooted sentiment in that Christian community out there that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are the devil. And I don't understand that. And maybe I'm just being naive. I can almost hear my detractors, well, we always thought you were just a naive country bumpkin redneck, and that may be true, but that's all right. Chris has got something called clarity. At least I know what good and evil are. And I know this much. Kamala Harris, Jeemes, and I pray for the woman's soul, she would have brought unspeakable evil upon this country. And President Trump, while not perfect, he's doing everything to get the country free of that evil tonight. And if somebody can't see that, there ain't a thing I can do to say to them, and all I can tell them is enjoy your time trying to find something. I was about to say a bad word, something to gripe about, and I'll just leave it at that. Final word. Wrap us up.
No, we've been together and done this long enough that we see almost everything alike, and share common hopes and aspirations, and the fears of how close we came to absolute disaster. But at the end of the day, we have a church where people call themselves Christians that don't believe anything about what Jesus Christ really stood for. We have a church that has been saturated with the world so that it has become unrecognizable as a force of change in this culture and society. And we live in a world where we have human beings making decisions that are not spiritually based, and you may like them, and they're certainly a better choice than the other choice would have been, but make no mistake about it. When it comes to dealing with the Middle East, when it comes to dealing with these very nettlesome foreign policy issues, when it comes to try to move this country with 50% of the country absolutely opposing anything you try to do, no matter how well intentioned or how much it makes sense in terms of change. That is the reality of the world that we live in. And I always close your programs with, the most important thing, absolutely, for a person to do is to get themselves aligned with and totally surrender themselves to the Lord Jesus Christ. And that is true wisdom, not worldly wisdom, true wisdom and true instruction. And it all comes out of Scripture. And we have a world of religion, not faith. We have a world of religion that pays lip service to those ideas, and with no depth to it whatsoever. And that's sort of my. There is hope in the remnant that God always has, no matter how bad things will get in this country during the last part of Donald Trump or after Donald Trump. No matter how bad things forget as we move toward the end, God is going to have a remnant of people that are after his heart. And that is the only hope for our culture and our society to thrive and survive in the future.
I'm with you there. And we need to realize something tonight too, buddy. Donald Trump's not our pastor.
That's right.
He's not the spiritual leader of this country. He is the president of the United States. He has to be president over all people. He has to be a president over the entire nation, even people that we may not agree with spiritually, we may not agree with politically, and he has got to be president of all, or he's president of none. And that's what we've had, Jeemes, for the last 50 years. And we've had certain cliques and certain lobbyists and certain groups controlling the White House. And if we, the people, are going to work, it's got to be all of us. And it's like I shared with Randy today. I will defend the rights of anybody in our country to be who they want to be, even though I may not agree spiritually with their lifestyle, and they may not even. I would not want them hanging around my youngins, and I wouldn't want them hanging around my grandkids. But we are in a free country. I will defend their freedom because that's what America's about. If they ask me personally about their spiritual situation, I'm going to be the first to tell them, you need Jesus. Like we all need Jesus. But that's a job for the church to be doing. It's not President Trump's job to be the spiritual barometer of the country. And I think that he's done a pretty good job even in that area. I think that, again, people are looking to him to be spiritually perfect. And if that's the thing they're looking for, they're going to be so disappointed and disillusioned. And good luck on that. Good luck on that. And find me a president that has been spiritually perfect going back to George Washington. You're not going to do it. And and it just frustrates the you-know-what out of me that the Christian community they do not understand that concept. They do not understand that concept that you have got a political leader in the White House. And his faith is important. I'm grateful that the man proclaims he knows God. But not everything he does is going to be just for the Christian community. It's got to be for the entire country as a political leader. As a spiritual person, that's between him and God. His spiritual life is between him and God. Correct?
No. Move over on that soapbox.
I will move on. All right, brother.
I'm right with you. There is another dynamic that has unfolded in this country over the last several years, and a part of it is that the church has abandoned its role and has given the role that the church and believers should be playing over to government. And so you have in this country a significant part of the country that relies on the government for everything, for solutions, when government was never designed to do that. And we live in an era of big government, too big, and that is one of the great perceptual divides. You know, there are people who believe that they are entitled to the government making their lives easier and fulfilled, when that role should be the church.
Come on, buddy.
acting as the institution of Jesus Christ.
Where's my amen bench? You talking about my soapbox bench? Let me go get an amen bench and amen corner, and I'll become Pentecostal. Man, I'm going to start jumping up and down, swinging from chandeliers, jumping over pews, and embarrassing you on that one. I think you should be. That's Pastor Jeemes Akers right there tonight, folks. I'll amen that. No, you're right, man. And look, if people are going to complain about Trump's spiritual views, they need to stop complaining about Trump's spiritual views, and they need to take their freaking argument to the pulpits of this country who have betrayed this country, James, and who have sold this country out to the altar of money. And if you know something, if your local pastor can't even clarify what abortion is, and he can't clarify what transgenderism is, and he can't clarify what evil is and pedophilia is, then maybe you need to take that up with your pastor and stop blaming Trump for the spiritual morass of this nation. The spiritual morass of this nation ain't coming from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Since 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue is a symptom of the fact it's coming from them pulpits in this country that have been silent in the face of evil, neighbor. And excuse me for getting fired up here at the end. It's your fault. Hey, get this weather warmed up. Get this weather warmed up. I'm coming to see a baseball game this year. We're going to have some hot dogs and fellowship soon, buddy. I love you, man. Appreciate you always. I really do.
I am looking forward to the same, Chris. God is a good God at the end of the day. No matter how we as humans try to foul it up, God is a good God.
Buddy, amen.
Buddy, I always enjoy talking to you. I think this one took sort of a life of its own tonight that maybe we didn't predict it would go. But
that's what makes it good.
I have thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, and I hope your listeners have.
I have too, buddy. And we will talk about Ukraine and Russia next week because there's some sort of leanings that Russia has given the green light and an open door to Trump and them talking, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'll get your take on that next week when the weather's warmer and I'm not on location at the Gulf of America, okay?
Well, you enjoy yourself down there at the. Are you at the Gulf Shores?
No, I'm in Mobile. I'm in I'm near my brother's.
Mobile,
I'm with him tonight. I'm actually my purpose for being here is not even the Gulf of America. I've been singing today in studio, and we track today. We're singing tomorrow, and then I'm headed home, and then we'll be back in Jacksonville for a conference next week. But I will see you before then. God bless you, friend, and thank you for being with me tonight. It was good, and I'm with you. I did not. I was going to come on by myself, and the Lord kept sort of prompting my heart. Said Jeemes Akers. So it was the Lord leading to bring you on tonight. I'm glad I did because it was a great show. I appreciate you.
You be careful traveling back home, okay?
Thank you, brother. See you soon. God bless you.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Jeemes Akers, everybody. Put some fire in that house. We are grateful for him. And we are grateful for you being with us tonight. Good to see Miss Laura Hunter and our Canadian folks. And Barry Duff, good to see you. Rosemary Wayne, Jay Morris, all of you. North Carolina Cowboy. Darlene Will, Mike Alter, my buddy from Facebook. Mike, good to see you tonight. Bear, John Quallam, good to see you. My friend, Carol Smith. I thought Carol Smith made a great point last night. We were a little more wired up. It was a President's Day Monday night smack, down, whatever you want to call it. I think her comment last night was one of the most powerful comments of the evening when she said, there ain't a white church, there ain't a black church, there is just one church. And I totally agree with that. And the only thing I would say, it's not a disagreement, it's just an add-on to what she said. There is an apostate church. And that church is both black and white. And there's a true church. And that church is inclusive of all races too. There's no color issue on either one. And I thought her comment was super last night. Jeemes Akers hit a home run tonight. I want to just do a few things real quick, and I'm going to take your questions. We're going to get out of here tonight because we are running a little late. I didn't expect us to go that long, but we had such a good interview. I was so grateful he could come on tonight. This is, I don't know if you've seen these videos coming out of Toronto of this plane yesterday. My goodness, I tell you what, the people that were on that plane are very, very fortunate that nothing more happened, and I'm trying to... let's see, is this going to let me rotate it? It's not here. I'm going to pull this in to the, now you're going to have a language warning. The people that were filming this, actually, I think we're filming the people getting out of the plane. So he was using a few words that, if the children are in the house, put your hands over your ears and pardon this. This is raw footage coming from Toronto yesterday. Hang on just a second. Yeah, this is it. Give me 1 second. I'm going to try to rotate it. There it is. That's the airplane there it is right there. You can see the airplane. excuse the language there, excuse the language, but they are basically getting people out of the airplane. Excuse the language, but there it is right there. That was somebody taking video of the people getting out of the airplane after it flipped. It flipped as it was landing, and as of now, 15 people have been injured. That was yesterday. And again, this is raw footage, so let me just turn the volume off. I probably should have done that. That was my bad. I probably could have done that. Could I have done that? Yes, I can. I'm going to play that again without the language commentary, but this is people getting out of that plane. You can see them right there. They were pulling people out. That plane is upside down. There it is, right there. And that plane was coming from Minnesota. And it looked to me like when it was coming down on that snow-covered driveway or runway, that's the question I've got, is why in the living world would an airport allow a plane in that kind of weather? Look at the ice on that runway. Why were they even flying in such conditions? Now today, Mr. Pete Buttigieg, he decided that he wanted to tear into Sean Duffy and blame Trump for the issue with the airplane. And I think I've got that here somewhere. If you'll bear with me tonight, I wanted to share that with you. I'm going to, hopefully this will come up and I can get this picture off of the phone tonight. My phone's about to die. Did Jeemes do good? Put some fire in that house if you enjoyed him. I tell you what, he was an absolute jewel tonight. Oh, I do have it. Good. This is Sean Duffy tonight, and I think I've got, it's not the video. Well, I don't have it. It didn't download. Anyway, I'll just give it to you. I'll give you the play-by-play from myself. Basically, Pete Buttigieg went out there and blamed Trump. He said, we need to know how many air traffic controllers were fired that did not pay attention to what happened in Toronto. Well, let me give Mr. Pete Buttigieg a little memo. It was under your watch that only a third of the workforce, Sean Duffy said tonight, he said that when they got in there, that 80% of the people in the Department of Transportation wasn't even coming into the office. The building was basically empty under Buttigieg's leadership. And it is despicable. CNN was throwing shade on Trump tonight, blaming him for this. NBC was doing the same thing. And that's the media. That was an issue that a plane should not have even been in the air. And they're fortunate, folks, that somebody wasn't killed in that. And that's not good. It's not good. And I want to say this is the flight. Here's the live picture of this. This is the plane coming in to the landing right here. Watch this. There it is right there. Look at that.
Oh, fuck. Oh, no.
Hang on. Let me get the volume off of that. That's the live picture. This is such raw footage. We never know what people are saying. This is the plane again. Look at that. Now watch it flip. As it hits the runway right there, catches fire, boom, right there. Fifteen people were injured. Thank God nobody has been reported dead as of tonight. But somebody needs to be investigated for that. This is Stephen Miller today, basically executing the reporter at CNN who was trying to throw shade on Elon Musk and the Doge folks, and complaining that they were targeting illegals who were getting your tax dollars and basically not paying taxes and committing tax fraud and Social Security fraud. This is how you handle the media. 101 from Stephen Miller. Roll tape.
Illegal immigrants who are getting child tax credits. Are you looking for that information in the IRS data?
Anytime a crime is committed, of course there should be an investigation. Is it your position that if somebody who is
Stephen,
here
are you looking for that
is
information
stealing
in the
taxpayer
IRS
dollars?
data?
the federal government will find every illegal alien who is stealing American taxpayer dollars. And that's what Americans expect to happen. I don't even fathom the premise of your question.
It's a simple question. Will you find that information in the IRS data and share that with law enforcement?
If IRS investigators find illegal aliens stealing taxpayer money, of course they'll be referred to ICE. Of course they'll be referred to Homeland Security investigations. Of course they will be. Surely your position is not that we should let illegal aliens steal taxpayer dollars. Again, you want to talk about something to be upset about, that's it. What do you think? The millions of illegal aliens who've also stolen Social Security, illegal aliens in mass.
I got to stop this. Do you see the smugness? Do you see the smugness on her face? That's the smugness of the media tonight. See, she was making a big deal of them prosecuting illegal aliens who commit tax fraud like that's a bad thing. Memo to Karen, I don't know what her name is, I don't care. Memo to the Crap News Network. If any of us out here in the real world did that, we go to jail for it. And they threw the book away and they threw the key. But because we're just doing this to the illegals, we're such inhumane, evil ogres. And the White House is so evil, basically prosecuting illegal aliens, period, who commit tax fraud. See her smugness? Makes you have the warm willies.
Fake Social Security numbers. They have fake identities. Those are felonies. Why should there be an entire class in this country that is immunized from criminal prosecution and arrest for committing felonies? Felony theft of taxpayer information, felony theft of Social Security, felony theft of identity. These are all crimes. And yes, they will be investigated. Yes, they will be prosecuted. And yes, illegal aliens will be deported. And you know what happens when those deportations occur?
Just very quickly,
is that Americans will get jobs, Americans will get benefits, Americans will get houses.
Stephen, if they got a credit, a child tax credit, and they will be referred, you're saying, to ICE for that, and you would expect deported for that? Is that the position of the administration?
Yeah.
If it is found that a crime has been committed,
thank you, Stephen,
they'll be referred. If it justifies the prosecution, they'll be prosecuted. If it justifies a deportation, they will be deported. This will be based on existing IRS protocols and procedures for criminal investigation and fraud.
All right,
the difference is that no one is given immunity anymore. No one is given permission to break the law anymore. Because this is not a country, this is not a sovereign territory, if illegal aliens can freely steal billions, with a B, billions of taxpayer dollars. And I would have to imagine that CNN, which is endlessly talks about the importance of democracy and the rule of law, would say that no class in this country should be above the law, least of all illegal aliens who've trespassed on our territory.
No, Stephen, I'm just asking, I wanted to get your position on some things. We're not taking a position.
Oh, for goodness sake. Did you just hear what she said, that they're not taking a position on these things? Don't you just love it? These media types do not need to use words they do not understand. And yes, you are taking a position on it. The question was loaded, and you're trying to bait him up. And I love what Benny Johnson says. Hi, do you want to see a murder on live TV? I give you White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller versus generic CNN Karen. CNN Karen complains that the White House is prosecuting illegal aliens who commit tax fraud by doing illegal driver's license and fake IDs and stuff like that and getting earned income tax credit when they don't have real children. And then, fatally, boom! Anyway.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
It's elementary, my dear Watson. You break the law, you go to jail. Ain't none of you out there that if you were to do that would not be prosecuted. Now, we've been following a story. I wanted to take a few minutes about this one story, and I'm going to let you get out of here tonight. We're going to take your questions and be done. I know we're a little late, but we got in late. We had some had to get in and get set up tonight, and I'm so glad James come on, and we didn't mean to go as long with him, but I'm glad we did. But we were following this story. I told you about this story last week about the two nurses down in Australia that were basically, they've been suspended for basically getting on the video and bragging that they were basically doing stuff to kill Jewish patients in the hospital. And of course, as would be expected, the left and the media in Australia is coming to their defense because Australia has turned into an anti-Semitic country. Not everybody. There is a sentiment in the government. Albanese was all shocked about this, like he would be all shocked about this, Albanese. And he is no protector of Israel. He's no friend of Israel. But here's the story from Breitbart. They were suspended, and this was last week. 2 Australian nurses have been suspended after a viral video showed them threatening to kill Israeli patients and boasting about refusing them treatment. The pair face criminal and health prosecutions over their sickening and shameful boast of weaponizing the healthcare system against Jews. The man and woman, both employees at a Sydney hospital, are now being investigated by NSW state police after their anti-Semitic tirade went viral. News.com Australia reports their actions are the latest in a surge of anti-Semitic attacks and rhetoric that have ruled Australia, as homes, offices, and businesses have been vandalized, and a school and 2 synagogues were torched in just over a year in crimes targeting Jews. There's a tweet, this is from December of 2024, of an attack in Melbourne and other videos there. And this is, again, the video. We played this video the other night. I'm not going to play it again tonight. But the video I do want to play is actually from Australian News. And this is a reporter, and she is Jewish. And she has given a dialogue about the healthcare system in Australia. And I'll let her do the talking. Roll the tape.
Okay, let's continue now our expose over the toxic culture and racism in the Australian healthcare sector. And tonight, we can reveal new instances of shocking anti-Semitism by Australian doctors who've shared posts encouraging radicalisation, denying rapes of women on October 7 in Israel, and even defending Hamas taking hostages. I mean, every day this gets worse. One GP who works in Bankstown reposted on Instagram, "Palestine will never die. Have faith in the resistance and in the resilience of the Palestinian people." Another post also encourages radicalisation, saying, "Let this radicalise you rather than lead you to despair," with a picture of a masked terrorist. And here's yet another post from this Bankstown GP of a terrorist holding a weapon. Then another GP who presents a very family-friendly image. Well, she denies that women were raped on October 7. She claimed, incorrectly, and I'm quoting her post here, "No women have come forward about rape despite many public calls." She also supports boycotting of Israel and tells people to call their super fund to divest from Israeli companies. This is a GP. She shared a post claiming October 7 was a prison break. And in this post, she said that the Israeli state began as Britain and the Allies' cruel experiment in apartheid for millions of Palestinian people. She writes, "And you wonder why they fight back, why Hamas, the Palestinian Liberation Organizations, and other militia and political organizations formed in response to Israelis' incursions." Now, I don't need to tell you that this is an egregious reframing of history, and it's clear support for terrorist groups that have slaughtered entire innocent families. This GP, as I said, presents with a family-friendly image, and she's even a children's author. This is highly dangerous and inflammatory stuff. And here's another doctor, this one in New South Wales, who says, and I quote, "Zionists will not be welcome apart from a few spots around the globe after this war." And this doctor justifies Hamas taking Israeli hostages. He writes, I'm quoting here, you can see it, "Hamas just wanted to get some Palestinians back from illegal detention, so they took their own hostages." This doctor justifying the fact that women and children and even a 9-month-old baby Kafir, now presumed dead, was taken hostage. This is sick. And here's another denier. He writes, "Many of the allegations about Hamas's actions on October 7th are not supported by evidence." Now, the evidence is there categorically for the world to see. How can a doctor like this treat patients with any credibility?
Now, I'm going to stop the tape right there. There's 4 more minutes of it. I'm going to save the rest of this for Tuesday night. And the reason I'm going to save it, this is a Jewish person by birth. Her ethnicity is Jewish. She's an Australian reporter, Sherry Markson. You can follow her on X. I'm going to read what George Free wrote here. Doctors working in healthcare share terrorist content on social media. That's in Australia. But I got a question for the Americans tonight. It's not a pick on Australia night. What I'm trying to show you is this. This is a growing trend, not just down under, but all over this world. And the truth of the matter is, if you started really digging here in our country, that sentiment, folks, some of that stuff that you just saw in some of those posts by these doctors was pretty ugly. These 2 nurses were found to have had morphine in their lockers. And he even says it right here. Still, this was today actually posted. They have not pressed charges against the 2 Bankstown nurses despite their clear hate speech. Ms. Markston would say later, now if police don't take action here, then the hate speech laws are not worth the paper they're written on, and there will be an uproar. But this is the catch-22. And our dear friend Cleo has told us this, and I've taken on pretty good authority what she's saying is true. They're targeting Christians. They're targeting Christians. Germany is basically arresting people for posting any meme that goes against the government. They basically are pushing for that same thing down under. And if it wasn't for Donald John Trump, they'd be pushing for that right here. So, as you go to bed tonight and you're thinking, what can I find tomorrow to trash Trump and be suspicious of Trump's family about? What can I be suspicious about him and Elon Musk? That maybe they're the Antichrist and lurking, and maybe they're the devil incarnate lurking. Maybe they're secretly baby killers. They're secretly pushing things that are going to destroy the. Maybe they're just the most evil 2 wicked men in the world, and you're just rolling over in your bed, losing sleep on trying to find something to complain about Trump about. Let me remind you, folks, if Donald Trump was not in power tonight, this stuff that you see happening in Australia and in Germany and in Europe, where J.D. Vance basically threw the gauntlet down and told Europe that we're not going to support what you're doing, and we're going to stop that from coming to this country at all cost. So if y'all want to quelch free speech and basically trample on the rights of your people, you go right ahead and do it, but we're not going to let you do it on our dollar. And we're not going to let you do it here. And I salute J.D. Vance for that. Now, I did that pretty calm as compared to what I was doing last night. But this is a precursor of things to come. Of things to come. And this growing anti-Semitism is only going to get worse. It is only going to get worse. And I'm going to just save this for future reference because it's about to get worse when it comes to that.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
Elementary, my dear Watson. All righty. I said one other thing here. By the way, I got to mention this. We will deal with this Thursday night. Bill Federer, we got a pre-recorded interview, but I got a lot to talk about Thursday night. Did you hear the big news today on the House floor? Ilhan Omar. Yes, the brother Marian Islamic American hating Ilhan Omar, just like that. She's no longer.
On this vote, the ayes are 218, the nays are 211, with 1 answering present. The resolution is adopted.
It has been adopted.
Featuring Representative Ilhan Omar
Come on.
of Minnesota. On January 27, 2024, Representative Omar gave remarks at an event in Minneapolis in which she made treasonous statements. Whereas Representative Omar said she has spoken to many Somalians who asked her to intercede for the Somali government by pressuring the United States government into certain actions. Whereas Representative Omar assured the Somalians she spoke to, the U.S. government will only do what Somalians in the U.S. tell them to do. They will do what we want and nothing else. They must follow our orders, and that is how we will safeguard the interest of Somalia. Whereas Representative Omar continued, for as long as I am in U.S. Congress, Somalia will never be in danger. Its waters will not be stolen by Ethiopia or others. Sleep in comfort knowing I am here to protect the interest of Somalia from inside the U.S. system.
Well, guess what? She ain't going to be doing it no more. 218 to 211. Adios, amigo. Elon, you're no longer on the Foreign Affairs Committee, folks. You should have never been on that committee. But what can you say? If you can't trust an Islamic terrorist in Congress, who can you trust, right?
Elementary, my dear Watson.
Elementary, my dear Watson. All right, I'm done. I got a lot more, but I always run out of time. I could go 4 hours. I could run my mouth for 3 hours and not miss a beat, couldn't I? But I'm going to let you go because it's getting late. And we're going to pick this up. Now, we'll be back on here tomorrow night with our face show and so forth, and Wednesday night. Did you enjoy the show tonight? At Sherry Markson on X, she's a Sky News host, and I encourage you to follow her. And RM, you say that the plane landed because it's Canada. When I lived in Canada, I learned to drive on ice. That is not a reason for landing a plane on an ice-coated runway. And I tell you why, RM. You learning to drive on ice, you're in the car with one person unless you got somebody riding with you. That pilot didn't have one person. That pilot had 76 passengers on it. They were putting the lives of 76 people in jeopardy by even being in the air in that kind of weather. That's not an excuse. That is a lame reason why that plane was even allowed in that airspace. And see, that goes to incompetence. It doesn't even go to the number of air traffic controllers that were in that tower. That goes to somebody not doing their job. And that plane left Minnesota. And that Delta plane, Delta's from my hometown of Atlanta. That's where their base is at. Sort of shocking because I've flown Delta all my life. Whenever I fly, Delta's my airline. I really don't think I've ever flown any other airline except one when I came back from Africa about 30 years ago now. Sabina, and I'll never forget the people in Uganda was telling me that afternoon and sitting in the airport, they said, we got some good news and bad news. And I said, what's the good news? And they said, well, you'll be home in one piece, hopefully in about 10 hours. And I said, well, what's the bad news? They said, well, you're on the airline Sabina. And I said, why is that bad news? And they said, because Sabina stands for such a bad experience, never again. And Sabina was a airline that was part of Delta. So that gave me wonderful feelings getting on that airplane, knowing that I was going to be on a nonstop flight from Brussels to Atlanta, Georgia for 10 hours. We did make it, but there was a lot of turbulence. I'm not trying to make light of it, but the problem is, folks, is that's not a matter of numbers. It's a matter of incompetence. That plane should have never been allowed to. That plane should have never, ever in those conditions been allowed or should be even told to fly in that stuff. And they should have been told to ground that plane until that runway was cleared. But that's just my opinion. All right, I will do this. I will take a few comments from you real quick. I will take a few comments from you. Shar said, I saw that on Twitter that Omar was removed 2 years ago, which is current chart. No, that it was done. That was done tonight. That's David Harris. She wouldn't have been removed 2 years ago, Shar, because Biden was in office. The Senate wouldn't have we wouldn't have had the numbers to do that 2 years ago. We wouldn't have had the numbers to do that 2 years ago. Anyway. Dennis, your question about why would Stephen Miller or any other person go on these so-called news stations? Well, Dennis, that's an easy question. Why? I mean, why would... And that's one reason I don't get on True Social. True Social is preaching to the choir. All you have over there is pro-Trump people. I like to be on X because there's a diversity of ideas, and I personally think it's a good idea for them to go on these other networks because it basically shows these other networks to be the biased you-know-whats they are. I totally, I don't, not in a negative way, Dennis. You're a good friend, and I appreciate you being out there. And I recorded your song today, by the way, the one you requested. It'll be on our new project coming up in a month and a half or two. But Dennis, I disagree with that a little bit. I think that they should go on these networks. They know what they're getting into. They're not novices at this. I think Trump almost enjoys it. I would. I mean, he's got nothing to lose. I mean, I think that he's reveling in the fact that he's letting the media have Alka-Seltzer fits every night. And that, if you saw her expression, she wasn't happy. She was getting her lunch handed to her right on air. And all he was telling her, he says, are you defending illegals basically committing tax fraud? And she said, well, we're not taking a position. Oh, blank, yeah, you were. Yes, she was. CNN is always taking a position. So that's why they go, Dennis. I don't have no problem with it. They can stand the heat. My Congressman Tim Burchett, he was on there later in that afternoon, and it was a different reporter, and he basically told her to her face, he said, your ratings are tanking so bad that SpongeBob is getting more views than you are. That's pretty good, Tim. I'll give you a high five next time I see you one of these days. Anyway, that's the only thing. Roger, did I hear that the governor of New York is planning to remove the mayor of New York City? That's rumor. We're following that. I'm trying to get Jennifer Harrison on next week. We'll see. We'll see about that. I know there's been rumors to that effect. All the charges against him have been dropped. I think Hochul better be worried about her own little backside, because Hochul is not a very popular governor in New York. She's popular around New York City, but I got a gut feeling, folks, as I close tonight, I got a gut feeling that when Elon Musk is done with this colonoscopy of Washington and all the turd is flushed down the toilet, there are going to be some criminal charges coming from some of this stuff. And a lot of these politicians and a lot of these governors and a lot of these DAs and a lot of these people, a lot of these federal judges, these congressmen and these senators are going to have had their hand in cookie jars that federal law prohibited them from having. And I've got a gut feeling that give it to the summer. I'll say give it a few months. Do not be surprised if all hell is about to fall down on the heads of these politicians legally, criminally. I told my sister-in-law this tonight before I came on. I said, what I'm waiting for, look, I love what Elon's doing with the Doge, with the Treasury Department, the Education Department, the shining the light on these agencies within the executive branch. The one thing I'm just biting at the bit for him to do is when he turns that light on Congress, that same inspection on Congress, and starts getting down to the lobbyist money that's been floating through D.C. for the last 50 years and where it's going. You think these Democrats are screaming bloody murder tonight? Holy smokes, Batman. Holy smokes, Batman. You ain't seen a bunch of petulant children throw their pudding and throw their peas and throw their corn like children do. You wait till Elon starts getting to that little mountain of you-know-what. Woo! Chris had to be on here 5 hours to talk about them videos, because that's going to be popcorn worthy.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
It's elementary, my dear Watson. I love that. That's my favorite one. I wish I could get a coat and a hat like that. It looks pretty cool.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
All right, I know I'm going an hour and a half. I'm done. Hope you enjoyed the show tonight. I love you all. I appreciate you being with me tonight. And let's see here. Any other quick thoughts? Hochul must go. Jeannie, I'll agree with you. Dennis says he sees my point. Thank you, Dennis. I love you, man. I appreciate you. And your question was valid. And I've been asked that before. And Dennis, actually, I've felt the way you did for a long time. But then I've realized this last year, we don't do ourselves any favor preaching to the choir. You might as well take this. If we're going to win, if we on the right are going to defend our position and our turf, we need to take this to their turf too, and let them take their shot. I thought Stephen Miller handled that interview as good as you could handle it, because you could tell she was getting it handed to her. She didn't like it. And the smugness about this media is sickening. But anyway, listen, God bless you. God bless your families. God bless this great nation of America. We got a lot more to talk about this week. Bill Federer with me Thursday night. We'll have that pre-recorded interview. We got some other surprises up our sleeve. We're grateful for you, and we thank you for being with us tonight. If you enjoyed the show, put some fire in that house, and I'll be back with you. No Bible study tomorrow. The only time I'll see you tomorrow will be tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Eastern. And if we're late tomorrow, maybe later, but hopefully we'll be on regular time. That's the only thing we'll be doing tomorrow. That'll be on our face side. I'll see you back here Thursday night on the news side. God bless you all. We love you. We appreciate it. Thank you for all the giving, the support, the offerings. Please pray for your country. Pray for President Trump. And we'll be back here next time on another McFile broadcast. A lot of things coming up this month in the spring from Mobile, Alabama, and the Gulf of America. Have a good night, everybody. Good night.